Have you ever held something so luxurious, so impossibly smooth, that you almost forgot where it came from? Maybe it was a handbag locked behind glass in a boutique, or a pair of boots displayed like a crown jewel. Maybe you glanced at the price tag and felt your breath get caught somewhere between disbelief and curiosity. Because the truth is, most people have no idea how a piece of snakeskin, something wild, ancient, and almost otherworldly, can somehow become an object worth $10,000 or even $100,000. Today, I want to take you on that journey. Not the glamorous version dressed in gold lighting and velvet carpets, but the real one. The long one. The one that begins in places few of us will ever see and ends in the hands of people who understand the strange emotional spell that luxury can cast. Luxury starts in quiet places. Small farms and sanctuaries where snakes live calm, natural lives. They don't know fashion, they just follow nature. People who care for them know snakes are delicate. They need steady warmth, clean spaces, good food, and gentle handling. If a snake is stressed, it won't shed well. And without a perfect shed, there's no quality skin. What most people don't realize is that great snake skin starts long before it's ever used. It comes from healthy animals, natural shedding, and patient, respectful care, never shortcuts. When the time comes, and it comes rarely, a snake sheds in a single, ghost-like piece, almost like it's slipping out of the past and into a new version of itself. This is nature's renewal, not a process forced by human hands. And that delicate, transparent layer is often the very first step towards something priceless. Of course, the shed itself is fragile, too thin to be used for luxury goods. But it teaches the farmers something. It tells them the snake is healthy, that its colors are vibrant, that the pattern, nature's fingerprint, is developing beautifully. The real skin only becomes available later, and only from regulated, ethical sources, where the animal's welfare is closely monitored. And that's important. Because the highest-end fashion houses, they don't touch anything without documentation. They want traceability. They want to know exactly where that skin came from, who raised it, how it lived. The world of luxury is obsessed with storytelling, but not the made-up kind, the real kind. Once the skin leaves the farm, its transformation truly begins. Imagine a workspace that smells faintly of oils, dyes, and warm leather, a place humming with human skill, where every artisan has eyes trained to see things the rest of us would miss completely. Tiny imperfections, subtle textures, the way light travels across a scale. These artisans don't just work with snakeskin, they study it, they feel it, they listen to what the material wants to become. Because python skin, especially from reticulated or Burmese pythons, is like a natural mosaic. Every scale is different. Every line is different. You can't mass-produce perfection. You can only coax it into existence. First, the skin is cleaned, stretched, inspected. And then comes one of the most important steps, tanning. This is where the skin is preserved, softened, and prepared for the life it's about to live. A life far longer than the one it lived in the wild. Tanning is part chemistry, part craftsmanship. Too much of one ingredient and you lose the sheen. Too little of another and the scales stiffen. It's a dance that requires years to master. And this is where the value begins to rise sharply. Because high-end tanning houses are few, fiercely selective, and trusted by the world's top designers. Once tanned, the skin becomes a blank canvas. And now, color enters the story. Some skins remain natural, soft, earthy tones that remind you that this material once moved, breathed, existed. Others are dyed into deep blues or fiery reds or molten golds. Some are finished with a glossy top coat, some with a matte softness that feels like touching a whisper. And then, the true luxury begins, cutting. To the untrained eye, cutting a rectangular bag panel out of snakeskin looks simple, but it's not. Snakeskin isn't uniform, it's not symmetrical. One wrong cut can ruin the entire piece. You can't simply trim around a flaw, because doing so destroys the pattern. You can't force the scales to align, because nature doesn't take orders. For a $100,000 piece, designers often sort through dozens of skins to find a set that matches in tone, scale size, and pattern flow. Think about that. Dozens of skins for one bag. That's how rare perfection is. Then the stitching begins. Slow, meticulous. Some luxury houses require their artisans to train for years before they're allowed to touch exotic skins. Not because the material is delicate, though it is, but because the craftsmanship must be flawless. One crooked stitch devalues the entire object. One misalignment, one uneven tension, and the artisan starts again. And this is where you realize something. The price isn't just about the material. It's about everything required to transform it into something people dream about owning. But here's the strange part. Luxury isn't really about the object itself. Not completely. It's about emotion. The feeling someone has when they open a box and see a piece of craftsmanship that took months, sometimes years, to perfect. The story behind it, the rarity, the knowledge that something like this could never exist twice in exactly the same way. Snakeskin, more than almost any other exotic material, carries a kind of ancient energy. It speaks of transformation, rebirth, mystery. People don't always articulate it, but they feel it. When they touch a python skin bag or jacket or pair of boots, they're touching a fragment of something timeless, shaped by nature, mastered by human hands. But there's another side to this story too, a more personal one. Think about the artisans. The people who devote their lives to mastering a craft most of the world never even thinks about. The ones whose hands know exactly how much pressure to apply, whose eyes catch the smallest misalignment, whose pride rests not in fame or recognition, but in the work itself. They are the unsung heartbeat of luxury. And then think about the farmers, people who understand animals deeply, who wake up early and go to bed late to maintain the fragile environments that keep these creatures healthy. People whose livelihoods depend on doing things the right way, respecting the animals they raise, and protecting the ecosystems around them. When you hold a luxury python skin product, you're holding the work of dozens of people whose stories are woven invisibly through every scale. And that's why some pieces, especially the rarest, reach prices that seem unbelievable. $100,000 isn't just the cost of the skin. It's the cost of rarity, of time, of mastery, of an entire ecosystem working in harmony. It's the cost of a story, a true one, carried across continents and shaped by nature itself. And maybe that's why, even if luxury doesn't matter to you, the story does. Because we live in a world obsessed with speed, mass production, and disposable everything. And yet, tucked away in small workshops and quiet farms, there are still people doing things slowly, intentionally, with care. Creating objects meant not just to be owned, but to be appreciated. So the next time you see a piece of snakeskin in a store, whether it's a small accessory or something extravagant, remember that its journey didn't begin with a price tag. It began with an ancient creature shedding its past, with hands that worked patiently, with choices made carefully, with traditions passed down, with respect for the animal, for the craft, and for the art of making something rare. That is how snakeskin becomes something worth $100,000. Not because it's expensive, but because it's extraordinary. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.